Part 36. Love and Hate feels as a masterpiece of life that understands the world. Although there is no spicy eel for dinner, there is a spicy shrimp and crab, which is also a popular Sichuan dish. It is said that it is very popular among rich people. Fresh prawns and crabs with chunks of red paste are placed in a red-hot casserole, fragrant and hot. The sautéed green onions and garlic are mixed with the strong peppers, pressing people's noses, and suddenly the whole table is full of dishes compared. Xuan Huaifeng looked at the pot full of red and knew that it must be spicy, but he couldn't resist the temptation of the fragrance. Bai Xuelan hurriedly asked the servant to pour him a cup of herbal tea, handed it to him, and said with a smile, "If you can't eat spicy food, don't use this one. With so many dishes, why not eat something else? Drink slowly, don't choke." Xuan Huaifeng said, "Spicy is spicy, but the taste is unique. I have never eaten spicy food, but this one suits my appetite." He drank most of the herbal tea in the cup in one go, and picked another one that was covered with red oil, sizzling hot prawns. Bai Xuelan reminded, "After peeling the shell and eating it, it will not be so spicy. Why is it so troublesome?" Xuan Huaifeng held the shrimp with chopsticks. "This shrimp has been oiled. And the shell is crispy and delicious. It's just what it is." He put it straight into his mouth, chewed it with enjoyment, only took 2 bites, and then his face changed, and hurriedly poured the rest of the herbal tea down his throat. Afraid that he might choke, Bai Xuelan stretched out his hand to help him, stroking his back, and said, "Next time I ask the cook to lighten his hand and put less pepper. I was negligent and forgot to tell him, but he is a newcomer. I know your spleen and stomach." Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly said, No, this is the way to go. If you don't have it, it will be inauthentic. Chili is a thing that people love and hate at the same time. Reluctance to give up is the essence. Don't you understand?" Bai Xuelan stopped talking, staring at him with dark and deep eyes, and the corners of his mouth showed his unique and meaningful smile. Xuan Huaifeng noticed it, and took back the chopsticks that he was trying to reach into the casserole again. He raised his head and asked, "That smile on your face is so weird, what can't you think of?" Bai Xuelan said, "Where, I heard you say the words, love and hate, it fits my own mood very well. After that, it was painful and reluctant to give up, and I even explained the taste of it. When I think about it, I really feel it can be regarded as a masterpiece of life that understands the world." "What is a masterpiece of life?" Xuan Huaifeng disagreed and said, "You can just say nonsense when there is no one in the room. If you want to let outsiders hear it, they think I am the kind of arrogant madman who eats a plate of food and makes a few comments, but dares to have a relationship with life. Now there are people everywhere who make a name for themselves and don't understand the truth of life. I also like to use the big hat of life, or eat a meal, or meet a woman by the lake. I will write some ridiculous words with all my strength. Every time I will talk about the truth of life, the understanding of life. It seems that life is nothing but romantic. There is nothing left to linger on. It's really misleading. Don't get me involved with them." Bai Xuelan didn't expect the topic to come to this, and praised, "Okay, what you said really showed your character. For this reason, you must have a drink." He ordered the servant to come over and said, "Go. Bring a good bottle of white wine." Xuan Huaifeng raised his hand to stop him. "Don't run away for nothing. I don't even drink it when I bring it. My stomach can't take it with such a spicy dish." When Bai Xuelan heard it, he was right, so he told the servant not to go. He helped Xuan Huaifeng pick up a prawn and put it in the bowl. For some reason, he suddenly sighed and said slowly, "I just said what you said was the truth of life, not just flattery, I really feel it. You say romantic and romantic are not the whole of life. Of course you are right. But if life lacks these, what is the addiction? In the words of foreigners, in fact, love and career are both necessary. They are almost the same as spicy shrimp and crab. Xuan Huaifeng was still listening attentively, and when he heard the last sentence, he burst into laughter. This preface doesn't fit the description. How can it be compared with spicy shrimp and crab? Bai Xuelan said, isn't it? For example, this spicy shrimp and crab dish has the disadvantage of being spicy, and the advantage is also spicy. If you keep the original taste, I'm afraid a gentle and light-loving person will dislike it. But if it is less spicy, then it's not fragrant enough, it's not authentic enough, and it loses its essence. So what is it? So, you have the courage to eat this dish, and you can tell the previous truth. In my heart, I can't say how happy it is. He mentions 3 and 5 to pull out such a sentence, although it is unbelievable. It cannot be said that there is nothing to hear or feel at all. Xuan Huaifeng was stunned for a while. A look of embarrassment gradually appeared on his face. He lowered his head slightly and said unnaturally, I have made it clear, those words just now are only related to this dish, and have no other meaning. If you insist on anything else, I can't do anything about it. However, if this is the case, I won't dare to talk nonsense in front of you again. Bai Xuelan said, I speak my truth, if I say it. It will make you restrain yourself from speaking in front of me in the future, then forget it. If it's a big deal, I don't need the crazy talk to be in front of you for whatever I think in the future. If you think that my happy smile is a trap, it's a big deal. I won't even laugh in the future. The two were silent for a while after hearing these 2 sentences. His eyes didn't even touch. He lowered his head and looked at the table full of dishes. All of them seemed to be preoccupied and thoughtful. The 5 flavors in my heart are mixed, and the feeling of having a lot of words, but not saying a word, is not always cold and jealous, but with a bit of sour warmth. After half a day, Xuan Huaifeng picked up his chopsticks and stirred it gently in the casserole. When he saw that there was only a dozen or so shrimp left, he thought that Bai Xuelan had not eaten a few and could not eat it by himself, so instead of picking up the shrimp, he took one crab claws into the bowl, bowing his head to peel silently. But the big crab had a hard shell. Although the cook had knocked a crack in the shell before putting it in the pot, he could not open it after trying hard several times. Instead, his fingers were almost scratched by the edge of the shell. Just as his hands were getting oily, Bai Xuelan stretched out his hand and silently took the crab claw, holding it in both hands, in a sullen posture, pressing his thumb on the flat shell, paused, and slammed it. As soon as the force is applied, the shell separates along the original crack. Bai Xuelan picked up the exposed half-red and half-white crab meat with chopsticks and put it in the Xuan Huaifeng bowl. Xuan Huaifeng asked embarrassedly, aren't you going to eat it yourself? Bai Xuelan said, I'll make it myself. He also took a piece of crab and cooked it like this. Xuan Huaifeng eats it. In addition, the 2 large crab top shells in the casserole, and the fragrant crab roe inside, were also picked out piece by piece and piled on top of Xuan Huaifeng's bowl. Xuan Huaifeng said, I can't eat this much. Bai Xuelan said, if you can't eat it, it's not worth it. Although the tone was light, the meaning inside was a little hard. This is typical Bai Xuelan Tibetans' limited power needle style overbearing. Xuan Huaifeng thought about it. After all, he couldn't bear to live up to his hard work. Not to mention that this was his favorite food, he really couldn't vomit him. He picked up chopsticks and ate it sweetly. Bai Xuelan was just a little more happy, and chatted with him, by the way. You made a lot of money by shooting today, what reward do you want? Xuan Huaifeng had already thought about it, and said, give me a day off, I think tomorrow going out. Bai Xuelan asked, Are you going to see Mrs. Nian? Xuan Huaifeng said, I'm going to see my sister, but I need to meet someone outside first, do something that I have long wanted to do. And then Nian's house. Bai Xuelan paid attention. Who are you going out to see? What are you doing? Xuan Huaifeng looked at him and asked him, Are you checking me? Now, if you are willing to let me eat at the same table, I am already Amitabha. I was born to look at your face and conduct, so how can I check your qualifications? Bai Xuelan paused for a while. Then continued, I'm asking, but it's to ensure your safety. You know, there are already 300 gold bars out there to kill me. In my opinion, you declare the adjutant may also be on their bounty list. Even if it is not worth 300 gold bars, it is worth at least 150 gold bars. Therefore, please act cautiously, even if it is not for me, but also for yourself. Not for yourself, but also for your sister, and the child in your sister's belly. Xuan Huaifeng listened with a cold face, but then he couldn't hold back, smiled a little, and said, Stop. The more you talk, I'm so excited. Even the little girl in my sister's stomach that I don't know if it's a boy or a girl is brought out. I don't plan to equate myself with 150 gold bars. Bai Xuelan said nothing, and looked at him with a chuckle. Xuan Huaifeng said, Don't you just want to know who I'm going to meet tomorrow? It's not a big secret. I want to meet a friend of mine, Xie Chaifu. Remember? I told you before that his wife died. Now, he has a difficult life with a daughter by himself. We happened to meet on the street that day. Because we were in a hurry, we didn't say much. So we had to give him some money to make an emergency. However, I see that the place where he lives is really shabby. Bai Xuelan's demeanor could only be described as a hidden calm at first. But after hearing him say this, he became relaxed in a blink of an eye, his eyes brightened, and he said with a smile, Then coincidentally, I have a house in the city, which is vacant now. You can invite your friend and his daughter to live in. Xuan Huaifeng was having a headache and wondered if he should read the rental advertisement in the newspaper and plan this for Xie Chaifu. Seeing that Bai Xuelan suddenly brought it up by himself, he was also very happy. After thinking about it, he asked carefully, Where is it? How big is it? Bai Xuelan said. It's a small single-family house with a large living room on the first floor, with a large kitchen, a servant's room, 4 rooms upstairs with 2 fronts and 2 pairs, and a balcony with iron railings, which is very unique. Xuan Huaifeng shook his head upon hearing this. This is not good. There are only 2 of them, so they don't know how to hire a servant. And they don't have to live in such a large living room and 4 rooms. Bai Xuelan said, There is a servant's room, but it's not necessary to hire a servant. If there are more rooms, just leave it empty. It is good. Xuan Huaifeng still shook his head and said, I don't agree with you on this point. I see. Bai Xuelan said, You, a gentleman from everyone's background, always have a different kind of loftiness than others, so you must be disgusted with me. The smell of copper is too strong in this place. In your heart, you have to find another quiet and elegant place to be worthy of your friends. Xuan Huaifeng exclaimed, Where did this idea come from? It is an unwarranted crime. His handsome face showed innocence, which was extremely pleasing to the eyes. While admiring the blushing on his cheeks, Bai Xuelan asked, Then why? If you don't tell the truth, I won't let you leave tomorrow. Then answered him this question, saying, My friend, you know, is a teacher in a private school, and he doesn't earn much a month. I want to find a house, but the request is to be clean, and people don't want to live there. I'm sick. As for the rent, I'm going to help him pay for the rent for the time being. Bai Xuelan didn't wait for him to finish, but he laughed. Are you actually calculating money? Just kidding. I want you to pay the rent for my house? Who do you think of me? I have to punish you. Holding Xuan Huaifeng's wrist, he slowly pulled towards him. For fear of being pulled into his arms by him again, Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly put one hand against the edge of the table, and while breaking away, he said, "Let go. I haven't finished speaking yet. Why punish me?" Bai Xuelan was in a good mood at the moment. Great. I really enjoyed the romantic atmosphere, so I let go of my hand with a gentleman's demeanor and made a gesture to Xuan Huaifeng. Okay, please tell me, I'm all ears. He made a surprise attack and took 2 steps away from him before saying, I'm not just calculating money, but also thinking about the future of the people I'm helping. With the fate of their father and daughter, all they want is a place to live. It's not a luxurious residence, like the bungalow you said. The standard is too high. Bai Xuelan snorted. What if it's too high? Xuan Huaifeng said, there is a saying that it is easy to go from frugality to luxury. And it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. There is another saying that living within one's means is very reasonable. If people are often in a luxurious environment that does not match their own, if you want something that you can't provide yourself, then enjoyment is not enjoyment, but a kind of torture. Bai Xuelan pondered, and later said, I understand what you mean. In this case, I have another place in the west of the city. 2 rooms also have a small yard. But it's a bit shabby, so if you want your friend to clean it up, you can move in. Xuan Huaifeng asked carefully about the situation of the house, and thought that it was quite suitable for Xie Chaifu, so he was delighted, and asked Bai Xuelan again, you have so many houses. Why do you have them all over the place? Don't you want to be the chief in the future and want to change careers as landowners? He raised his eyebrows and looked him up and down. What? Are you trying to interrogate me? In a word, Xuan Huaifeng was embarrassed to ask. Xuan Huaifeng's face was flushed, he turned his eyes away, and after a moment of silence, he said, after dinner. I'd better go back to the room. Bai Xuelan hurriedly stood up. It's just a joke, are you really angry? When he was going to take Xuan Huaifeng's shoulder, Xuan Huaifeng avoided it on one side. Xuan Huaifeng went back to the room, thinking of what happened just now, still feeling a little embarrassed. I don't know when I and Bai Xuelan started to talk like this. Why did you ask about people's private property? This kind of topic is discussed between ordinary people's wives and husbands. It's even more embarrassing to think about. When he touched his face, it was hot. Xuan Huaifeng felt that his body was also hot, so he called a servant outside the hospital to get a few buckets of cold water and took a clean bath. When people feel more comfortable, they plan to go to bed. Just after changing into pajamas, someone suddenly knocked on the door outside, whispering through the crack of the door, Adjutant Xuan. Are you asleep? Xuan Huaifeng replied, not yet. He opened the door and saw that it was Fu San. Fu San looked at what he was wearing and said with a smile, oh, it seems that I was in time. Otherwise you would have fallen asleep. Xuan Huaifeng asked, what's the matter? Fu San said, the chief asked the housekeeper for something, but the housekeeper couldn't find it. And he felt a little guilty. He asked me to come and ask you quietly to see if you saw it. What? It's a bottle of plaster, which is very useful. It's in a small jade box. It's probably just that big. Fu San gestured with his hands. Xuan Huaifeng understood at a glance, nodded and said, it turns out to be this, I know. I saw it on the table in the chief's study a few days ago. I think it's also valuable, so it's not good to keep it casually. It would be a pity if it fell on the ground and it was broken. I put it in the drawer on the left side of the desk. It was the medicine for wounds that came out of the palace. What does the commander want this for in the middle of the night? Fu San said. This is how I know. In short, as long as you find something, the housekeeper is in a hurry. I'll go tell him first. He thanked Xuan Huaifeng and hurriedly left.